90 Day Fiancé. Before the 90 Days star Brian Muniz lied to Ingrid about more than just his age or how he became a quadriplegic. Brian is a 51-year-old man from Harvard, Illinois. He was approaching his 25th anniversary of being in a wheelchair when he filmed season 7. Brian was a professional rugby player and later became a coach in Brazil. It's where he met his current girlfriend Ingrid, a single mom living in Gurupi. Ingrid is almost half of Brian's age at 32 and most of Brian's exes had been younger than him. Tocantins resident Ingrid has a 2-year-old son named Arthur and a 12-year-old son, Italo. Ingrid and Italo's dad divorced when Ingrid was 25. She met Arthur's father a few years later when she got pregnant. Arthur's father left Ingrid when she was 2 months pregnant. She became unemployed during the pandemic, revealing Ingrid had lived a hard life and seemed to think she could go live in the US with her boyfriend. Ingrid was looking for a man who cared for her and her children. Poor Ingrid didn't know all the secrets Brian had kept from her. Brian thought to himself that when he was injured, he had a new birth. He started to look for ways to be active as he adjusted to his wheelchair. He was introduced to wheelchair rugby and started playing internationally for 4 years. Brian made it to the USA team and even got to travel to 10 different countries, including India, Argentina, Denmark and Switzerland. He ended up going to Brazil, where he fell in love with the country. He played in Brazil for several years and took on a coaching role. He soon became fluent in Portuguese. Brian found it much easier to meet and date people in Brazil than he did in the US. In his experience, the attitude that American women had towards men like him in wheelchairs was like they're just like last resort. However, Brian realized that Brazilian women were much more open to disability. Brian met Ingrid in Brazil. The 32-year-old and Brian had been talking for over 2 years. They talked daily and just hit it off right away. Brian liked how funny, caring, and gorgeous Ingrid was. He also mentioned that Ingrid was blonde and curvy. Brian revealed that he had been in several relationships in Brazil. After a few devastating breakups and even a failed marriage, he started thinking that maybe real love was not on the cards for him. He thought that things were going to be different when he met Ingrid. He wondered if he had chosen wrong in the past because his bond with Ingrid felt totally different. Brian thought there was definitely a chance that Ingrid could be the one. "I want her to be the one," he added. Brian did not want to live without Ingrid. Brian had not told Ingrid the details of what he had to do every morning while getting ready, from the bathroom stuff to the sexual stuff. It was starting to look like Brian also had not told Ingrid that he had been married 4 times before he met her. It was not his first time going to Brazil for love. His relationship history was pretty tumultuous. 3 of Brian's wives had been American and 1 of his wives was Brazilian. Brian was 27 when he was shot with a small caliber handgun. It hit him in the spine and left him paraplegic. Brian recalled seeing 2 men who were waiting for him as he came home one day. One of the men had crossed the street while walking to Brian's car and asking him to come out. He told Brian that he had a gun. Brian realized he was being carjacked but thought he could grab the man and get away from the situation. Brian used to sell and use drugs and met his second ex-wife at the time. Brian's family didn't approve of him being a drug dealer. He couldn't say no because he was making a lot of money. However, Brian looked into the mirror and saw that he looked like a zombie. He wanted a fresh start and told his ex-wife he didn't love her anymore. As per Brian, his second ex-wife confessed that she had ordered the carjacking, which led to him being wheelchair-bound. Brian had not told Ingrid about the incident. She thought Brian couldn't walk because of an accident. Ingrid was worried about Brian having lived a life surrounded by criminals. Ingrid had never used drugs and didn't approve of that kind of lifestyle. Brian had kept her in the dark about such an important part. Ingrid was shocked. She admitted she also felt scared. She was told not to get involved with drug addicts while growing up. Ingrid felt deceived because Brian even lied to her about his age. Ingrid was certain that Brian had told her he was 42 when they'd met, which made him 45 2 years later. However, Brian insisted he was 51 years old and that there must have been some miscommunication. It appears Brian could not have told Ingrid that he is currently still married to his 4th ex-wife. In September 2024, 90 Day Fiancé blogger Mary Pants revealed that Brian is married but not to Ingrid. They shared a picture of a woman named Fiancé who they referred to as Brian's current wife. As per the expert, Brian and Fiancé have maintained a long-distance relationship since 2017, and they got engaged in 2019. Brian married Fiancé in 2022, but they faced difficulties when they started living together in Brazil. It may have been because of Brian's unfaithful ways. Brian was allegedly cheating on Fiancé after they got married. Meanwhile, Brian and Fiancé's divorce proceedings have been ongoing since the summer of 2023. It's not known when 90 Day Fiancé before the 90 Days season 7 was filmed, but it could have been after that. Meanwhile, Brian has been accused of allegedly trying to conceal his assets by transferring his car and home to other people's names so that he doesn't have to split his assets 50-50 with his wife. Brian has no business being on the show or in Ingrid's life. Meanwhile, Brian tried to be famous using his unique relationship when he created a YouTube channel with Fiancé. The channel called Brian Fiancé has 8 videos with over 125 subscribers. Their bio notes: have you already thought of leaving your country to live and study in the name of love? As the couple asks fans to follow their journey and get to know the story of a Brazilian girl and an American quadriplegic rugby athlete as they construct a life together. The 90-Day Fiancé before the 90 Day Star's last video was posted 5 years ago.